Hello and welcome to Bottom Line News Network. I'm Ethan Stopczynski and today we're having a special broadcast on terrorism. Terrorism is a common issue in the world today and throughout history. Terrorism can range from a rogue madman to a well-funded militia group. Attacks can happen anywhere, as 9/11 showed us. Even our children can be killed in their schoolrooms. We have also allowed terrorist groups such as the CIA to operate in our country. Terrorist groups all cause chaos and fear wherever they strike. The term terrorism was first used to describe people who opposed revolutionaries during the infamous French Revolution. Today, terrorism is defined as the use of violence or intimidation against civilian or government groups for political gain. There are four main motives for terrorism. These include control, religious zealotry, politics, and a desire to cause chaos. Control is often the motive behind government-sponsored terrorism. Civilians may be seeking additional freedoms or are just simply unruly. To counter this, governments will parade their armies through the streets, a show of intimidation, showcase weapons tests, again a show of intimidation, or attack innocent civilians, a show of violence. One example of government-sponsored terrorism is the infamous CIA group. The CIA utilizes many tactics of terror and torture to intimidate and control innocent people. Strike groups in Afghanistan have conducted night raids on innocent towns where operatives kill innocent civilians and attack healthcare facilities, leading to further deaths. Then the operatives break into homes, question residents, and kidnap men if they so desire. The kidnapped men face a terrible period of extended torture. The torture methods utilized by the CIA include, but are not limited to, being hung in a crucifixion-type position, waterboarding, and electrocution. The CIA has also concocted plans such as Operation Northwoods, where the CIA would massacre Cuban refugees and conduct acts of terror in the U.S. cities. The most famous motive behind terrorism has been religious zealotry. Islamic groups such as Al-Qaeda, ISIS, and the Taliban have terrorized the Middle East. Afghanistan is currently the biggest terrorism hotspot with over 2,700 recent attacks. Politics is also a major motive of terrorism. The political issue of race has been a keystone issue behind many American terrorist groups. The white-clad Ku Klux Klan openly attacked innocent African Americans and did everything in their power to intimidate minority groups. The Klan is most famous for their burning crosses. In modern times, BLM is a new player in the story of terrorism. Riots led by the organization have led to over $1 billion in damages to private businesses, many of which were owned by the very people BLM claims to defend. The riots have also led to the deaths of 19 innocent people at the hands of BLM members, and some members have threatened with further violence if they don't get their wishes turned into reality. Terrorism is most common in the Middle East, North Africa, and the Balkans. This is caused by many generations of religious and political strife that have yet to be resolved and may never be resolved. Terrorism can happen anywhere, however. Shootings in rural schools, bombings in Boston, chaos in Hong Kong, and the Pearl Harbor bombing of 1941. The two overall groups that can cause terrorism are governments and people. Governments participate in terrorism acts to deny people their freedoms, beat civilians into submission, or to counter terrorism in all the wrong ways. People also cause terrorism by wanting to draw attention to a political or religious belief, wanting to cause chaos, or bringing about a revolution. Unlike government groups, people have to resort to unconventional terrorist methods. Now to our terrorism expert Billy to showcase some of these unconventional methods. Terrorists use many weapons. These could include, most of the times they're bombs during attacks, such as pipe bombs. But terrorists will also use guns. And then a lot of the guns they will use are handguns because of how small they are and easy to sneak around. However, if they want to go long range, they will likely go with the rifle. And then another common weapon used by terrorists is a car. Terrorists use cars either as bombs or to mow people down, such as in large crowds. Cars are also very easy to obtain, almost easier than, well, definitely easier than guns. Cars are also fairly cheap depending on where you live. Thank you, Billy. The enduring issue of terrorism is that people are constantly hurting each other in the name of some sort of ideology. Governments and angered civilians seek to hurt innocent people just to intimidate or make a point. All this accomplishes is making us live in fear, sadness, and anger. Governments are trying as we speak to solve the issue of terrorism. Many Western countries are teaching their civilians how to recognize potential terrorists and how to report them. This can range from recognizing suspicious activity to finding car bombs. Many countries have made anti-terrorist task forces, such as the German GSG-9 and the U.S. Joint Terrorist Task Forces, or the JTTF. The U.S. has also conducted both drone and bombing attacks on potential terrorists. In my personal opinion, this problem will never be solved. I believe that people should be informed on how to recognize terrorists and how to deal with such an issue. People should be armed at all times in order to defend themselves in the event of an attack. Maybe one day we'll live free to fearlessly enjoy our lives. Please, join us next week where we discuss nuclear energy and its both its benefits and why people fear it. Have a good night.